All right, thank you very much. This is our work session in preparation for our recess meeting in February the 20th. So we will call this meeting to order, and we've got a couple things that we are pleased to have to get started with, and one of them is going to be the Link is going to make a presentation. Joe Max is here with us, and we're always excited to hear from him. And then we'll have an update from SFC on the Parks and Rec program, and then we'll go through our agenda. So welcome to everybody, and welcome to our new Alderman, Kim Moreland. We're delighted to have you here today. So we will move forward. And also, before I forget it, for those who hopefully might be tuning in early, we will have citywide pickup on Tuesday. Monday is a holiday, President's Day. The city observes that, but we will have citywide pickup on Tuesday. So I promised Mr. Smiley I would say that, so hopefully everyone will hear it. I'll say it again at the end if I can remember.
And if I can say, I'm one of those people who signed up for the Starkville alerts, and I've gotten a text and an email telling me that already today.
Yeah, if everyone needs to sign up for Starkville alerts, no question about it. So, Mr. Higgins, would you come and give us your usual wonderful presentation?
We're going to be right here.
Yeah, it'd be just fine, right
Okay,
there.
Elizabeth's going to pass out two things. E.T., I'm going to need one of them if you've got an extra.
They should have them, I think, in the
Electronically?
packet. Yeah, either
Okay.
in the packet or electronically.
Electronically.
But that's okay. Passing them out helps.
Two things to go over with y'all, cover with y'all, answer any questions. I will tell you in advance, Elizabeth is a project manager for us. She lives here in Starkville. Been working for us for about a year. I will not be at your Tuesday meeting, okay? So if you got any real hard questions that are pondering, that are going to be real hard to answer, wait until she comes to the meeting on Tuesday night and ask ET and not me, okay?
Sink or swim, you know.
But we got two things. Mary, do you have a preference in which one goes first?
Whichever pleases you.
Okay, that we're going to ask y'all to consider a resolution of intent for a tax exemption. Okay, ad valorem tax exemption for an existing manufacturer. They've asked to be unnamed. We are calling them ET Project Squeeze, I believe. Is that right?
Correct.
That's how I've got it on the agenda as well.
Project Squeeze, about a $9.5 million expansion and about 20 new jobs. And they want to, we will be going before your board on, we'll be going before the Board of Supervisors at 3:30 on Tuesday. And then they'll walk across the street and come to y'all's meeting and ask y'all to consider it that night. So we're asking for the county for an exemption. We'll do that Tuesday afternoon, asking y'all for an exemption Tuesday evening. Somebody's going to ask if we exempt them the tax, what impact does that have the city on a $9.5 million project? So it's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of about $33,000 a year average for 10 years. That goes down each year because there's depreciation. In year 10, you're going to be around $23,000. The exemption's good for 10 years, then it goes away.
Strictly ad valorem.
Ad valorem tax for the county, for the city. It will have to the project will still have to pay school tax. And I'm going to tell you that the average per year of the school tax is going to be about I'm going to round up to $68,000 a year. That will not be exempt. City exempted tax will be 33 rounded, counties will be 56.5 rounded, schools will be about 68,000 rounded.
Are we still in the low income, are we still in that designated? We fell out. Okay, that's the reason I was going to ask is why because normally that would just not come to us, right?
Yes, and for the new folks, what the mayor's alluding to is the state has a thing called growth and prosperity. And it was set up for like the Delta counties and a lot of the low-income counties because of your student population, stuff like that. Starkville qualifies. And they do an annual calculation. You go in, you go out. You go in, you go out. Right now, we're out. But if a company comes in while you're in, once you qualify, you're good. You're good for the 10-year deal.
The Starkville, Starkville County, or both?
But it'd be both. It'll be countywide.
Because the county average household income is the average for the city, inside the city is going to be higher than outside the county, up and down.
Oh, yeah, oh, sure. And it's a countywide calculation. And in the 20 years I've been in Mississippi, I think Starkville, all counties, been in the program 3 or 4 different times. But it's a calculation that MDA does annually and adjusts. And the significance of that is what the mayor's talking about. It's when that happens and y'all are in GAP and you say we want to participate in GAP, we don't have to do these things. The companies automatically get them as part of the GAP legislation.
I figured we must have been out.
Yeah, you're out. But again, a $9.5 million project, 20 jobs, Project Squeeze, impact to the city, 10-year average, because we depreciate, we're gonna call it $33,000 a year. But they will pay, estimated on that, about $68,000 in Starkville and Tim Hall County Schools.
And you did say 20 jobs.
20 jobs, yes, ma'am.
All right.
Additional jobs.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right.
And the state of Mississippi is giving them 331 inflex, 300 and something, 300 and something $1,000 in inflex credits to induce the project too. So MDA is providing incentives as well.
What kind of infrastructure improvements or changes or anything will be done to facilitate this?
New equipment.
The state be paying for the equipment?
Inside an existing building, yes, sir, Mr. Buddy, new equipment going inside the building to let them up their production.
Well, wherever this is, currently has water, sewer instruction and
Yes,
stuff
sir.
like it to handle.
Yes, sir. As far as we know, there's not any big time demands on that.
I see.
All right, anything else? All right, next.
All right, next thing, you got a letter there from Kate Reeves. This, if you'll go to the second page, this is in Cornerstone Park. Those of y'all that know Cornerstone know that when you turn in, I say Cornerstone, sorry, North Star. I've been talking to those guys out there.
I know.
I've been sitting there looking at that guy with the Cornerstone. I guess he's your guy. You got a Cornerstone thing.
Yes.
North Star, when, those of y'all that know when you go in, Garen will be on your right. Okay, the spec building that was the spec building is no longer the spec building. Amazon is going in that building. Okay, they're out there constructing now. We have 100,000 square foot pad next door to that we're out marketing. I've got a meeting with AgriSell next week to say, all right, this one's gone, let's do another one. Okay, we're gonna find out if they're gonna play ball. But one of the things we wanted to do is we wanted to further enhance the park. So we asked the governor to give us money to build a 200,000 square foot pad. Okay, and for y'all that may not know everything out there, when you're driving down 82 and you take the Louisville exit, the loop to come into town, you remember that big lot that you see cleared there? That's where this is. That's where this is. So when we built our pad, we took the trees off, we took our dirt, and we took our dirt and used it for part of the other pad. This will build us a 200,000 square foot pad that we're going to market. And we got 2.8, Mayor help me out, $2.5 million in grant. It's going to require the community to match it about $279,000, about $280,000.
Split between us and the county.
Yeah, and so we went before OCEDA Monday night just to make them aware, because they operate the park, want them to know what's going on. We're coming to y'all. How you've done that part, and I'm not saying you have to do it that way this time. How you've done that part heretofore is counties paid half, cities paid half. Counties paid half, cities paid half. And we're assuming that you're going to do the same thing here. Mayor's checked your bank accounts. There is enough for your half still left in the bond issue that's built the park. So funds in hand, the city has funds in hand dedicated for that purpose. Okay? If the city does, the county does, because each and every invoice was divided half and half. Yes, ma'am?
No, just raising my eyebrows.
Well, if it's not, they inadvertently spent bond funds for a purpose that the bonds were issued. I mean, I'm just saying that.
I'm saying too.
In Rutrow, if that happened, yes, sir.
Is a pad, is that just an improved site with the dirt on, is that a slab? What is a pad?
No, it's not a slab.
It's just a dirt. You got
and Mr. Beatty, if you want to get an idea of a general look, run out there, turn when you go past Amazon.
Right.
The next lot to the south, we just finished 100,000 square foot pad. So this is engineered field. It's brought in. It's compacted. It's not theoretically. It's ready to build on.
You get a tenant, you build a suit.
Yes,
within
yes,
that.
Yes, sir. And the conversation I'm going to have with AgriSell next week is, we were already talking about the 100,000 square foot. We were already talking about that existing pad that we've got built. The deal we cut with them was Amazon, is we gifted them the land, we gave them the pad, and they committed to build at their cost a 50,000 square foot building expandable to 100. And that's what they did. And now Amazon has come in and taken it as leasing that building from them. We've asked them, we want them to move to the next lot and repeat the process. And then we'd like to go to the next lot and repeat the process. You get the picture, just cookie cut. I have been in discussions with them that this is going to be available. And if they chose to, they could choose this lot instead of the pad lot that we had up there. But the terms are going to be different. Instead of building a 50,000 square foot building, since it's a 200,000 square foot pad, if they choose to do that, we're actually going to build a 100,000 square foot big building expandable.
Is this third-party company that owns this stuff, it's kind of what Leland Speed used to do, right? That was the business he was in, right?
Kind of, sort of, yeah. Yeah, well, the deals, we've been working with them for years, and the deals we've cut with them is we generally provide them with the land and the pad or a portion of the pad. They go get their financing, finance the building, build the building, carry the building until a tenant comes in. And all of our agreements with them, though, so y'all understand, have the ability that if we, the Royal We, wanted to buy it, there is a buyout provision. If a tenant came in and said, I don't want to lease from you, I want to own this building, they could either negotiate with Agricel to buy it, or we could buy it and be the transactor, if that's the way to phrase it.
Thank you.
Any other updates for us while we got you?
I just got off the phone. I think the Flex Steel buildings are under contract for a purchase. No end user, but the people that are buying them are in the business of doing that kind of stuff, and I believe that the people that'll be buying them will be much easier for us to work with than a far off place. And so we just got word of that in the parking lot when I pulled up.
It'd be nice to just get it cleaned up some. Just looking
Well,
pretty
they
scrubbed.
have after the call.
Mr. Higgins,
Please come.
Joe Madden.
Call me Joe, thank you.
Apparently, that is, they buy it with the intention of ultimately putting a tenant in there to derive
Correct.
income from,
Correct.
right?
Yeah,
I
they'll
know
buy it, they'll own it, they'll lease it back.
I know down in Newton, there's a third-party LLC that you probably, where it was, has bought that big lazy boy plant in Newton, I guess with the intent, I don't know, maybe get that there's tax advantages for owning something like that, but I guess the ultimate goal would be to try to put somebody back inside.
No, that's what they're gonna do. As a matter of fact, he called me and asked me for an existing manufacturer's contact that he wants to contact today to let them know that they've acquired it. Because we know they're looking for some warehouse and some sub-assembly work, and he wants to make sure that it's on their radar screen.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else while we got him? Anything? All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
How you like the first day in America?
Oh, yes. Trying to soak it in.
You'll do fine. I'll tell y'all a story. I don't know if you can remember. I had, in one of my daughter's many moves, you gotta go get your U-Haul. And I went and I got my U-Haul, and she said it's around back, and I backed my truck around there, and I was getting ready. Before I knew it, she yanked that thing up, put it on, had them chains, had that thing screwed down. She said, "You're ready to go." And I said, "Well, I'm just getting ready to do it."
Professional.
Yeah, she knew more about that. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Joe.
Y'all have a good
Appreciate
week.
it. All right, y'all too. They'll stay. All right, Mr. Doherty is going to provide us with an update on the Park and Rec programming for this 2024 year and what's going on at Cornerstone. So.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Parks and Recreation has been really busy. We have been working in our community, so I wanted to kind of touch a little bit about a few things we've been doing there. Thanks to Alderman Sistrunk and some flower balls and such, we've been able to go to George Evans and do a little planning around the fencing and trees. And actually, it was a really great opportunity to meet a couple of members of that community to work on how do we continue to enhance that park and make it look nicer and give it more function. So it was really nice.
Can I say that these bulbs are courtesy of the Mississippi Urban Forestry Commission, and they do 2 events a year where they make bulbs available to communities. There's a small handling fee, which I picked up this time, but 50-pound bags of daffodil bulbs, and
Yep.
Brandon and his crew put out 4 or 5 bags
5 bags in total, and then 2 bags we put out here. And,
So
we had
you should be seeing some daffodils blooming soon
definitely
around
will see
town.
some flowers popping.
And just as a point, it's with an A, Evans with an A.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it was a really good opportunity. We are going back there in a couple weeks to see how the flowers grow. And then a couple of the members wanted to talk to me further on how do we develop that into a little bit nicer park. So, always here to try to help the community. And then we had Safety Town. So we had that last weekend, the weekend before. And thanks to the fire department for being out there. I mean, it's always fun to see the trucks and everybody engaged and all the good things. And we had kids come in all day long. And again, it's one of these programs that we don't really talk about as much, but it's one of those important programs that really impact our community. So we start with education to help with prevention. So thank you to all those that were part of that. Travis Outlaw Center. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Travis Outlaw Center in general. This year has been kind of one of those years where we're starting to really put a lot of pressure on our facility. A lot of times we have to schedule around a number of things. That's an example of what our schedule looks like. We have to be very specific about the times that's available. We had over 515 participants and 64 teams in our basketball schedule, so every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and a number of Saturdays that we've had to play games and schedule things.
Is that up from last year, I assume?
It is up from last year.
Okay, so we're getting a growth.
We are. We're getting more engagement, I think, and that's helping with participation. We've been able to hold the cost to a level that's, I think, acceptable. And then at this point, we haven't really dealt with any type of inflation type stuff, so we've been pretty fortunate. So, but the challenge here is just the coordination of all the different things between pickleball playing, volleyball practices under contract, special events on the weekends, and then all of this. So I really want to say thanks to Eric Rossini, who's our athletic director out there, who is really the one that manages this on a weekly basis. He's kind of a one-man shop with a lot of help. And without him, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of stuff we're doing right now because he's doing a great job of handling it. And I really appreciate the parents of understanding, how much work goes into this. So again, we're scheduling 140 plus practices. We got 320 games. We have to schedule every referee, every bookkeeper, everything that goes on. And it's a lot of work for one person. He's got some people that support him, but Eric's really kind of the nucleus of that. So we are trying to build more calendars like this so that we can kind of forecast forward 3 months at a time. And what we're going to do is publish those so that people can understand that, hey, the gym's available, the gym's not available, or the sportsplex available is the soccer fields and Cornerstone this week. This will help us communicate to the community, allowing us to say, hey, we're open, we're not open, come do this, try that, without getting and fielding, a couple hundred calls a day about, hey, are you open, are you not open, things like that. It also demonstrates the amount of things that are going on to help us communicate to the community how engaged we really are with the things that we're doing.
Well, we recently had a Frisbee tournament that
Yes.
transitioned to us last weekend.
Yeah, so Columbus was going to have a ultimate Frisbee with MSU. They couldn't do it because of their fields, so they called us, and on a drop of a dime, they came here, and we had the MSU Ultimate Frisbee Club playing their games at our sportsplex.
On the turf field.
Yep.
So
And
there's your benefit from that turf field.
And here's another one. This week, we got another call from the high school to do softball out at Cornerstone because their field was in a condition they couldn't play. So again, we're trying to support our community the best we can and build those partnerships. And because we're working so well back and forth, there's an understanding of what we can and can't do. And most of the time, we can do a lot. And they've been really happy with what we're doing. So we're trying to do absolutely everything we can with the community to partner. And I will go on record as saying we're going to try to get that ultimate Frisbee to be a reoccurring thing here and try to snake it away. So,
Well, at least it's that you got a field to play on.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't talk about it in this, but pickleball has been absolutely outstanding too.
Would you, wait, really?
Well,
Really?
I'm laughing because he sent me a thing last night saying there were 100 people here.
There were over 100 people there last
Yeah,
night. I've never
which is
seen it,
great.
But it does raise a question. Are you done laughing?
No, probably not.
Okay. Is there any way you'd consider moving that,
No. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I was having a little fun. Go ahead.
there were over 50 cars parked from before the basketball court past the baseball field. Is there any reason why we can't park on the other side there? Those fields are already gone, right?
Yeah, we can absolutely.
You've got it blocked. I'm driving around to run my dogs out there. We talked about that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, but that would really help, because with the new entrances on the south end,
Yeah.
if you park there, you go across the bridge and you're in the courts, and that would really, some folks are worried that it's dark and it's just,
And that will be one of the things, because I don't know if the power and all that's hooked up over there for those lights on the streets, but if there isn't a reason that I know of, I'll talk to Cody and his folks to make sure there's not something, but if it isn't an issue, we can at least do it during the daytime hours.
well, actually, the light issue has more to do with the regular parking, because it's dark going back to where the kids' pavilion is, but on the other side, you get the lights from the courts, so, because they're so much closer to the courts, the parking lot. If you could just take that sign down, let folks whip around there, I think that would help.
Pick it up to the Jeep and just drag it on your way.
I can
Don't do that.
facilitate
Just
the
kidding,
removal of
just
that
kidding.
sign if you like.
Yes, I'll double check with them to make sure there's nothing there, but I don't see why we can't.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, pickleball has been good, we've got a few things to go there, and again, pickleball is gonna be another one that's gonna be like this, I feel, in the future, where we're gonna have to start figuring out calendars of activities to ensure that we're allowing more people to utilize the court and not necessarily be, and again, I'm gonna use the word intimidated by the large crowd of people if there's novice or beginners and things. And
Are you
so-
gonna set it up, so, I mean, I don't know, is Lou in charge of this, but are y'all gonna set it up like a
No.
rotating court of some
So
kind? so
the
that people
problem
can-
last night, they had tryouts for the Mississippi State team, which went to nationals last year. So for several hours, it was inundated with state kids because the university has yet to, I get it, I know where you're going here. But they also play with the other folks, us
Yeah.
old folks. So the relationship is good. We are trying to see what other communities are doing with their courts when it gets overrun like that. And
Well, I'm
last
actually
night-
curious, how can you have a national championship team without courts that you've used? Where do they play?
Ask your dear friend, Dr. Keenan.
I will be delighted to ask him, but if they weren't, how do
They've
you get to be a
taped off
national
two-
champion without getting to practice?
They have taped off 2 on their intramural tennis
Ah,
court.
okay.
But the lines are going they're not tournament
Okay.
play, and
Okay.
we have just happened to have built such a good facility.
Well,
That's
we
where
did,
everyone wants to
we
be.
did.
That'll end somewhat at the end of the school year, but for right now, it's a problem, but literally over 100 folks. It was great.
Yeah,
So,
and I think we just need to be organized and be able to communicate if we do something special and how to do that, because I know that we're getting hit up right now with a lot of people that want to preserve it for their own special stuff. And the question then becomes, how do we manage that in the future to ensure that if somebody's running it on a Saturday to run their own individual tournament, that people aren't expected to be there to practice or play and have fun, and it's
Yeah.
not available.
there should always be, I'd say, 3 open courts. We also want to put up a challenge thing, so you can try to do the King of the Hill, because that was a big thing last night. But we can get to
But
that,
that's,
and we're
but that's
looking
us
at.
getting organized.
We're trying to benchmark what other communities are doing. We also need to schedule a ribbon cutting, which needs to be at night, so folks can come. I want to wait till we have a little more daylight, because we want to honor that guy, and that is all about done too.
Okay, great.
How many pickleball courts do y'all have?
12.
And how many, do you not need a full 12 for a big tournament?
You could do it with 6 or 8. We happen to have 12.
Okay.
We could do a big tournament, and they are running them all over in Tupelo and whatnot, and charging good money. So I think that's a small but not insignificant revenue store.
Okay.
And there's some secondary pieces there too, when we start talking about food and beverage sponsorship and swag.
Beer.
That also, again, helps offset a lot of non-recruit costs that we provide back to the community that we need to look at.
And while you're here, I do want to thank you for, you have been put through the ringers. Retirees, soon to be retired, don't have a lot to do, so we just fuss at the people that we want to get stuff done. And you have endured a lot, and you have done a lot, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys' support. So that's Travis Cornerstone. We have baseball, softball coming up this way. So we're producing a calendar very similar to this that will list out all our practice times along with tournaments and schedules. And on that schedule, we'll also have the tournament teams and locations where they can go in there and actually look to see what's going on. Now, our challenge at Cornerstone is going to be a bit different. We're under the assumption that last year we had about 1,000 participants, 75 teams. At the Sportsplex in McKee, we always had some parking challenges. So I think the parking piece for the first couple days are going to be challenging because it's going to be new. But outside of that, we'll have a rhythm of stuff, so the exiting won't be as difficult, it'll be easier to get out of the complex. But
Well, you're gonna have two ways in and out. That's the reason we did that exit opportunity on the blue field.
But just like anything new to somebody,
Yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of people confused and know what to do. And so it's just us over the first couple practice days.
Well, if we need to get somebody out there to say, that
And we will.
way.
And we'll have plenty.
Yeah, okay.
It's just gonna be just like anything, change.
Okay.
So our concern really is not the fact that we may have 1,000 participants, 75 teams. Again, just showing you what we're doing, and this has been Eric, scheduling those games, those practices, and then all those support elements. Our concern is really the utilization of the fields and ensuring that we can maintain the quality throughout an entire year. The artificial turf can play on it about $2,000 to $3,000 a year. And when you do the math of our tournament schedule, which will be next, along with this, we'll be in that bracket of $2,000 to $3,000. So I'm not concerned about the turf. The concern is that the grass is only going to be held up for about 750 hours. Our schedule right now, March, April, and May, will probably produce around 600 hours of play. And that is a lot of that 700 hours that we would use for regular blue grass. So the schedule is going to be extremely important for us to make sure that we have enough rest time in between things. And so you're going to see, like, why do you close the fields on Wednesdays and why do you do it before the event? It allows us on Wednesdays to do some of those maintenancing things, give it a chance to grow. But then the day before the tournament, it's when we're going back through and I'm sure as the season goes on, we're going to have to replace chunks of grass with sod, so we're going to have to do some of those things. And we just need to keep people off them to give them a chance to recover. And so we're going to manage that to the best of our ability, but when we have all the tournaments and games, weather makes a play into this, and then also making sure that we're rotating the fields as we're scheduling. Again, we have to be organized in how we do this. And we're really close to saying this is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. We just have to get a couple pieces completed before we launch.
Well, and we talked about this, but you're gonna get some signage that says field at rest, or, something
Yeah.
that says this field is, do not play.
So what we're trying to do is launch is that everything will be scheduled through our Civic Rec system. Everything goes through there, every field will be on there. If the field's available during the registration period, that means it's available during that specific time to go practice. If it's not available, then it's not available. So that will give people the opportunity to see if they can just walk in and practice or not. We have the gates, which we're gonna start locking, and we also have security cameras going in there, because what we've done is locked gates before, and they're using bats to break them open to go practice. And there's no way for us to be able to be there to see it happen. So if that continues, we're going to be pressing forward to get that to stop. So the more we can manage this, the better off we're gonna be, especially as the year goes on. My concern is this March, April, May period.
Let me ask you something. Now, who's doing what to get in the ball field?
So there's the little bracket that holds the gates, there's a lock that goes into the gate, and so we locked them to keep people off the fields because of chemicals at one point. And they were taking their bats and putting in there and basically twisting it open. And we had
You know
to
who's
replace
going
it.
out there and practicing?
We don't know exactly because we have the gates open for the playground and all the other things. So we have a camera at the Highway 25, we have one on Bluefield, but we don't have the complete system put up yet. So I met with Security Solutions, they're putting them in, it's just, they're not in yet.
And how will these fields be accessible to people that want to practice? Like, I mean, obviously, these are not criminals, these people trying to practice baseball. I guess they're getting in the wrong way.
So
But they're not, if they do open with bats, it's people trying to practice baseball.
the availability will be on Civic Rec based on the hours that are available for those fields.
I suspect some of that's because we don't have full ball fields in the key park now. That would have been you.
No,
No,
we still have
I'm pretty
softball.
sure about that.
We still have
Well, I don't think
softball.
that's the true case because we have 8 fields at the Sportsplex that nobody uses.
Those softball fields, and they're wet right now, they're unplayable, and when it actually get rain or something, I know.
Well, our outfields are gonna be unplayable if people.
I'm just
stay
saying
off
that
of them.
the transfer of people practicing from the McKee Park field to the Sportsplex Park field, which are really just mini softball fields with dirt infields, is not viable right now. It will be in May and June when it starts drying out, but right now, they're mud holes when you try. I know, I've been out there. So there's people probably looking for ball fields that can't practice on Sportsplex because of the condition of the field right now. took full ball fields out of the park.
So the
Just
gates are
straight up.
open, but the gates are open every day of the week, and all they gotta do is call us, so I don't understand.
So in other words, somebody can just call and then go out there and practice.
And schedule a time to make sure.
No
that we have-
$25 an hour, y'all
We
don't.
don't charge anything.
Okay, but you were at one
You
time.
asked me what it
We
was.
have never charged. Well, the sports bikes were going to, you guys right.
That come off
At Cornerstone, it's do though.
We do not charge anything.
That's good.
And just to be clear, there are more fields at Cornerstone than there were at McKee,
Oh, gosh,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
There are 12, and before there were how many at McKee? So the idea that 4 more fields would be nice, but they have access to more fields than they've ever had. So-
Correct.
I need to follow up on that just because it just needs to be stated that Cornerstone is outside the city limits and you got to schedule.
What?
people. Well,
Cornerstone's not outside the city
outside-
limits.
Okay, technically, it's at the edge of city limits on South, Highway 25 South. And you got to schedule if you want to get your kid out there and practice. The other places would just, you just go jump on the field and pray, you know. So I guess that day's over, but at the same time, if people are lifting bats up to get on fields, you know, locks up with baskets, that people probably would have been somewhere else practicing.
How many instances did that happen?
I've got 5 gates that have been replaced. I've got
What?
a food trailer that's got a counter ripped off of it. I have probably
Stop
spent
there.
$50,000 on miscellaneous building repairs at this point, and we've probably gonna have to fix a piece of the plate.
Not all of that is due to not having enough fields, that is
That
just
is
somebody
not-
vandalizing.
That's basically.
Are they getting in there and vandalizing the fields, or are they using the field?
Somebody just wanna play, we gotta find a way to stop that.
So we've chased off college students who are out there playing home run derby on the fields, and again, that's not what they're made for.
And they also have the fields at Mississippi State out there where the intramural across from that school.
Yep.
So,
Well, and that's the reason, when those gates are open, we need somebody out there who's there. And I realize how difficult it is to keep your eyes on everything, but once the cameras get installed, it should be something we can watch.
I've had calls from people that lament the loss of McKee Park fields for just the reason we're talking about, that this is the easy access to the ball fields. And so
it's
just,
just growing pains. with the
yeah,
expansion,
you just, this definition is, I guess it's a different definition.
Nobody likes change. Not one of them.
The ball fields that we utilize, so they're not there now.
So that's our concern with Cornerstone coming up in May. As again, this is Eric Orsini. He's doing a huge piece of this, so I really appreciate what he's doing. And then we also have finally another update at Cornerstone, which is Musco Vision. So Musco Vision is basically an online system where people can pay to view their teams playing. This is part of our Musco lighting system that all interlinks. It's allowing us to basically turn it on and off during any types of games or practices. You pay a fee, you get to see the streaming for a full day. There's some of that, most of that revenue will come back to the parks. So this is what will be put up at the different areas, and I think this is going to be something really nice for the rec league, along with the tournaments on the weekends, because now if there's inclement weather and parents didn't want to necessarily go out to see it, they're not going to miss that opportunity to see their kids play. And again, the more organized we are about what field, how we're doing it, things like that, as we promote those things, this will become a huge piece. The Babe Ruth group that was just visiting with the mayor, this was something they didn't expect us to have, that they were really excited. And they should be, because this now allows people across 70 states to view their kids playing in a location here.
And that was a gentleman from Arkansas, a gentleman from Alabama, and a gentleman from Louisiana, Georgia. So,
And they're talking about West Texas, or East Texas, also coming here, so,
yeah.
Now, I was not sure exactly what this camera would look like if we were doing it, so this is an actual picture of the field of what you would see as you paid. So this is a live streaming image of Musco Vision. So this is what the image is behind the plate, and then it will also switch to the outfield to see the pitcher into the batter. So it's a really good resolution, and I think it's a really good picture for us to have. They keep this on a kind of a database for about 90 days. So then we can go back and take a look at it later if you want to use it for highlights or things like that. So it's a really nice, nice image. I think it's going to be one of 3 in the entire state. There's a college, and the high school, but we will be the only Parks and Rec that has this.
Cool, and that's the Kona Ice Field. Which one is that one?
That is in the Green Quad.
Green Quad.
And that is
Okay.
The CDB, like behind the CDB.
Okay, cool. All right, any other questions of Mr. Doherty while we've got him?
I got one more.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, I apologize.
So the tournament schedule, just a big update for the economic impact pieces. The tournament schedule is basically finalized. We have pretty much, I would say 98%, if not 100, all the contracts listed on the right-hand side signed. Now, just to show you the growth that we've been able to do, we basically kind of charted it out. In 22, 23, we had 13 tournaments. I would say that's a little low, but only because we were anticipating Cornerstone. As we move into this next year, we have 40 tournaments scheduled. And those are just like contracts. Many of these are multi-day events. So we're gonna have many multi-day events that are gonna be out there, especially in the month of June and July, when we're talking 2-day state tournaments for softball, baseball. We have the Dizzy Dean, and tomorrow we'll be signing an agreement with Babe Ruth for our first Babe Ruth World Series qualifier that will be held in late July. Through our conversations, there has been some opportunity now to maybe also do a softball and then expand it into a longer period of time. We just hope that the community helps support this, hotel groups, businesses, and others who want to participate. Please jump on board, because this could be something really special for Starkville.
I'm really excited, because this is what we built it for. We built it particularly for the, as it relates to the quiet time. Obviously, rec time, our normal rec ball for our kids, but this quiet time that we built it so we could have hotels and restaurants fill. That's the reason for the tournament caliber of it. So I love seeing that June and July are busy and filled. That's
Yes.
great.
And this goes back to just making sure that we have a plan, and we're trying to monitor our plan through a schedule of utilization and things to keep it into a really nice condition so that these folks want to come back and more kids have great experiences. So.
And there's some really cool things. The college showcase
Yep.
is a special event, a state tournament, regional tournaments. Those are all very exciting.
Yeah, Grand Slam is, they've got a pretty cool event going to go on in April with a internet celebrity coming, and we've already got 100 teams signed up.
That's great. That's exciting. All right. Well, thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Everybody's
Appreciate
support.
your continued good work.
Thank you. We have a great team, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Okay, let's move to our agenda. We've got 2 sets of minutes. Mr. Huskisson, you've looked at both sets, have you?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we good to go with those?
We are.
All right, consent for those, all right. We've got some employee introductions, and then our citizens' comments, and then we have one public appearance. Mr. Thompson from the Boys and Girls Club wants to come give us an annual report, so he will be under public appearances. And then we have another public hearing on the security camera ordinance. Notice that this is not consideration, this is just a second public hearing. So we will anticipate a third public hearing at the first meeting in March. And some modifications have been made to it based on comments that we received at the first public hearing, and those should be in your packet and highlighted in yellow. So,
Could you give, kind of give us a highlight, just an overview of what the modifications would be?
Sure. Good. Well, I made them. I think I remember them. One of them was to establish a database, because that was one of the things that we had talked about. And the other one was,
Code enforcement.
yeah, to have an enforcement that is, we're going to do not biannual, yeah, every 2 years, have an inspection process. So those are the two things that were mentioned and that were added as a part of that. There you go. Thank you, Joel. You are the man. And the Main Street Taxing District, instead of saying Central Business District, it said the Main Street Taxing District.
Are they added to the?
No, they're exempt. They're the ones that were exempt, the Main Street Taxing District.
And let me ask you this, what would be the reason for exemption downtown?
Well, because there are individual businesses, and then we've got the cameras that are sitting downtown, and they're a part of their own taxing district, so they have a.
And in a strip shopping center though, isn't one of the requirements that you have a camera in front of every door of every business?
No, it's have visibility to every door. And I've got 3 cameras at mine currently that can view those doors from one position. So it is not a door not a camera at every door. It is a visibility of the doors and visibility of the entrance and exits to the parking lot.
If this becomes, and I think it is for some, and for those who think that we ought to be moving on, we need to talk about stuff like this. This is absolute.
That's what we're doing. Go
I'm
ahead.
talking about, but we need, this is the kind of stuff we need to go. This is gonna be a financial burden on some businesses, gonna meet that threshold of parking spaces or square footage. And we're gonna have exemptions on there, places gonna be exempted out of this thing, and one of them is these big housing. In other words, we're gonna be doing it in places, and some of those places are gonna have, it's gonna be a financial burden on them. I would suggest, y'all gonna think I'm off the wall with this, but then I say off the wall things sometimes. Some of this ARPA money that we have, that we hadn't completely spent yet, one of the bullet points of the ARPA funding that we got 2-3 years ago was small business assistance, you know?
We've already dedicated that money.
We haven't spent it on, it hadn't all been spent yet. And I'm just saying that if we initiate a new ordinance on existing businesses that cost, you know, in totality, you know, about $2 million for installation of this stuff throughout the city, for people that meet the threshold have to do it. I mean, that's something that money could be used for, probably. Small business assistance. It's written in the ARPA law, and I guess, or in the ARPA law that came from Congress. I mean, I don't know, but it's going to be a financial burden on businesses, and some of them going to have a hard time putting this in and monitoring it, and so it's something I think we could consider looking at. I don't know whether the board would be interested in something like that, but we need to think about those kind of things before we
Well,
pass this
I'll
ordinance.
push back hard on using any ARPA money because we've got it entirely dedicated for sewer, stormwater, and water. So it's dedicated and it's intended for the build grant area, which is, it's gonna take every bit of it. So, anyway, but I hear you, and to that end, I actually had a conversation with Chief Ballard this morning about changing those standards to making it 10,000 square feet and 50 parking spaces as opposed to 5 and 25. Because again, when I drafted it, I modeled it after Madison, and not everything obviously fits. I raised ours to be different than theirs, but then upon looking at the number of people who would be impacted or businesses that would be impacted, then I think probably 10,000 square feet and 50 parking spaces is a better fit for us. And so I'm going to make that recommendation, but I haven't made any changes to it, but I do think that's one of those things that we need to consider. Yes, sir.
Meredith.
Any idea how many of those businesses already have cameras?
A good number of them do.
So,
yeah.
is there any way to get a handle on exactly who and how many are going to be impacted?
Well, that's the reason the chief and I sat down, is because we did a quick footprint look at the ones that were impacted, and some of them really shouldn't be. And so that was the reason for making that potential modification, and another reason for us to have a third public hearing, and maybe even a fourth, depending on what kind of data we can come together with. But he put his guys to work on it and came up with a fairly significant list, and I looked at that and went, no, it's too much. So we'll go back and look at it again and make sure that the ones that we need to be there would be appropriately impacted. That would take mine out. I'm going to do it anyway. I've already got it, but that would take others out who might not have it. But there are going to be a number of them who are already cambered up. You got cameras?
I've got mine are actually, which is different than the ordinance, but yes, I do have cameras.
Yeah, I think most businesses in town who
I got
get a lot of
actually
traffic.
a lot. I've got 32 in my office, and I think I've got like 40 something in the storage area.
Yeah, so
Threshold, 10,000 square feet, how many parking spaces are we
50
reaching?
is what, 50 is what I
Instead of
said.
25?
Right, yeah, right now it's, 5,025. Again, just trying to work through what makes sense for us. I think the language and the requirements and that sort of thing were fundamentally sound, but I do think that, probably appropriately, we go to 10,000 square feet and 50 parking spaces instead.
The other city that we looked at was Vicksburg.
Vicksburg and Madison,
Vicksburg rescinded theirs after 30 days.
they never enacted it according to the mayor.
Well, what I read in their newspaper was after the board went back after the next month and rescinded the requirement and made it a recommendation, but not
Yeah.
a requirement.
Yeah.
So that's.
No, I understand, So, okay, so anyway, we'll have a second public hearing on the security camera ordinance and hopefully get some more feedback. And then under mayor's business, you've got those two items that Joe Max brought forward, and I would like us to consider them for consent unless there's something about those that somebody is not going to be supportive of. Any issues with those two? Consent for those? Okay. And then under board business, we have an application for CDBG sewer improvements. Ms. Benson, there you are, you were hiding behind Joel. Anything about that one you want to share with us? This is a typical application for an area in town that needs sewer?
Correct.
Okay.
It's an area not currently being served. Applications will be accepted by the Mississippi Development Authority May 17th.
Okay.
And we'll do our best.
And this is the Henderson Road and Sand Road area?
Sand Road,
correct?
yeah.
Okay, so
The
consent for that one?
the
All right, I
sand.
see Henry smiling.
Look at it.
And then we gotta go now.
All right,
I
we
got to leave.
got it managed. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Justin.
Yes,
Can
yes,
I
ma'am.
ask Phyllis, have we gotten to the part where they do the surveys with the homeowners out there, or is that further into the process?
We discussed that yesterday in the meeting with utilities, and we're going to work, I think, with you and Alderman Bond on getting that kicked off.
Looking at a public,
Mr. Kemp?
looking at a public meeting between March 25th and April 5th, sometime in that window to meet the timelines of the grant at a location that's kind of nearby those communities.
There's a church out there that might be willing to do it. And I have an interest in it because a good bit of it used to be in my ward. It's
Right.
now in Alderman Bond's ward. But I contacted some of the people on Henderson Road already
Great.
that we were moving forward with this. So
That is
they're pleased.
a key portion of this being successful is having good participation. So anything you can help to do to drive that interest in participation would be very helpful.
Do we know how many potential folks are down there that would be impacted? 40?
40 households.
40 households? Okay, good. That's more than I thought.
That many are down there. If we can find some spark plugs from that area, it always helps.
Okay.
The grant application requires a public hearing, which we will conduct at City Hall, but it also is helpful to actually go into the community, and I've agreed to help. You know, we've done that on previous projects at Rockville, at Bluefield. It helps if you've got that buy-in from. the
Absolutely.
people that are
And we
concerned.
appreciate the help that you've given us in the past, over the last 15 or more years, 20 or more years. So, all right, thank
For
you.
allowing me to work.
All righty, and the next item is we have a tax abatement request. If you recall, we passed a tax abatement ordinance in 2023 that was to assist commercial properties, the Central Business District, and historic properties. And Mr. Oswald, who is redoing the Vowels Market, has come forward and is making that request. So Alderman Sistrunk, I know this was one of those things that you had.
Near and dear to my heart.
Yes,
Yeah.
so-
I actually would suggest that what we do is put together a resolution that's similar to the one for Project Squeeze, so that we can be clear about our findings of why we grant or don't grant this particular case, because it is our first one, and we want to set an example of what it is that we're looking for, what we're willing to do on a go-forward basis. So I would say that based on Mr. Oswald's application, he would be looking at applying under the one that grants a 10-year abatement, up to a 10-year abatement, and it's only available after his project is completed. So we have a bit of time to do that resolution. We could bring it back at the next meeting, have a resolution, include findings, and then go from there.
Okay.
Mayor, is this on the Vowels property, or is this on something else?
No, this is on the Vowels property.
On the Vowels
Yeah,
property?
I think his submission said $3.5 million or so that he had.
Is this gonna fall under the I thought we had a downtown Main Street corridor thing. Is that expanded to the,
Yeah, the ordinance, if you recall, included commercial property that was,
Pretty much anything.
I just remember at the time there wasn't a lot of framework, that we were just passing something, kind of, basically, so.
well, the framework was to include, it did include all over town. It included commercial properties in town, as well as the Central Business District and historic properties.
And that
That's
was
how it's framed.
that was at the recommendation of Butler Snow, that you make these as broad as you possibly can to allow people to participate in them.
Is this on increment, or is this on the whole thing?
It is up to the board to decide.
Has he asked any specific request or?
Yeah, he's put in his request, it's in your packet.
In your packet, he does have he did a really nice job
Joel,
with his application.
you want to navigate for us, sir?
But what would be currently, and we can do,
There's your ordinance, it was 2303.
and then what we can do is we can exempt any or all of the ad valorem taxes. Currently, the city taxes on that particular building.
Stay there,
according
Joel,
to-
because that's what we were talking about right there.
Currently, the city taxes, according to Mr. Oswald, on that particular building are about $18,000. The incremental taxes would be difficult to determine because I don't know exactly what it would go on the tax rolls as, because they never go on at cost. They go on at some percentage of cost. So we know what his current taxes are, about $18,000. There will be some increase, some incremental tax, but I couldn't tell you exactly how much that will be. If you want to scan on down.
Well, I just want to make sure Hamp had a chance to see the areas that were
defined.
That were defined. So, okay, and you can scan now.
But there's the section 4 talks about how much has to be invested, how much of it has to be public-facing improvements as opposed to just interior building spaces.
And he has obviously done the parking lot, he's doing the parking lot, doing the landscaping, doing the facade. So a lot of those improvements were exterior facing.
And based on state statute, his project has to be complete, and he could apply for an exemption anytime up to 6 months after substantial completion, so.
Okay,
Which
so,
I think is scheduled for what?
June,
next
into June.
But I think it might run
Well,
a few months past that.
yeah, it's been sort of in limbo in a couple of different stages. So, but I am assuming that he will, Joanna, you don't know if Lisa had heard of whether or not he's going to end up showing up. I assume he is. Okay, all right. Well, we can have that further discussion on Tuesday night, so.
Would we want to have a resolution for Tuesday night, or would we?
Well, I thought you were suggesting the next board meeting, so.
I would suggest the
He
next
he
board
is set
meeting.
to come, but that he might like to make a presentation so that it can inform that resolution.
That would be fine.
I mean, Mr. Oswald's improvements and capital expense on that project notwithstanding, this is one of the issues that we're going to face, and we will face every time we start the budget process, is a lack of revenue. And the two main sources of revenue, see, start with you, the financial person, audit system, you know this more than anybody, are sales tax and ad valorem taxes. And this is one that would have increased some, and I suspect that Mr. Oswald and his accountants and things probably anticipated how much they were going to spend, what this building would go on the tax rolls for as completed, and what his anticipated rent, expenses at that center, and cash flow and that kind of stuff, depreciated, all that stuff, and the cash flow in that business. And I guess what I'm saying is, this is where we run into the thing of, we want to do something, and at the same time, when it comes up budget time, we run short of budget money every year, and we have to start scrapping, and we can't fund it. If we could hire, if the fire went out there, we couldn't hire a fireman right now, or couldn't fully staff police, that kind of thing, because we don't have the money. And this is where we get the money. This is where money comes from. But this is not a surprise that, oh, now you got this tax you got to pay kind of thing. This just has been anticipated. You're in the shopping center, rental property business. This has been anticipated all the way through the steps. Mr. Oswald has really good people working for him that advises him on this kind of thing. But what I suspect are going to do is we're going to concede for 10 years a lot of tax money.
Well, and I want to comment to that too. The furniture store that he's trying to get a lease signed on, they're $4 million a year in sales. It is hinging on, and his are triple net leases, because I get asked that question, because I have triple net leases, which means,
I know what that is.
a lot of people actually, believe it or not, don't know what that is.
Well,
And I didn't find that.
no, why don't you, this is
Triple net
Tax
is
insurance
tax maintenance and
maintenance.
insurance on the square footage that they have.
Correct. Prorated.
They're hinging on, that furniture store is hinging on the tax, of course. But $4 million, and if it's a 5-year lease, And if, once they reach that 4 million, they'll sign for another 10. So you look at the sales tax increase, and I'm like you to an extent on giving tax breaks, but when it's somebody local and local money, it's a little different. Like
Well,
a local
and we're not
developer
talking
and-
sales tax now, we're talking,
I
we're
know,
talking
but
ad valorem.
given
Yeah.
the difference in what we give them credit on ad valorem tax, what the sales tax revenue would bring in,
Yeah.
on $4 million
If that was-
over that.
All, or more, and no, what you're certainly understand, because you know your stuff on that. What we're doing though, and we started this slippery slope, everybody's asking for this now. And the totality is, we're going to be granting exemptions to every significant project coming up, because they all ask for it, and we can't, no, only one I know we've said no to in the last 5-6 years was Walmart, the neighborhood market. And they came up and did a presentation, put a thing on an easel and said, we won't come if we, and I had to look off, because I thought, you've already done your market study, you know the money's there, you're coming, you just gonna ask us for a tax, right? And if we were, at the time, if we were willing to give it to them, they'd take it. But they within 30 days after they asked for that TIF, they got a building permit, built a store, and we capture all full ad valorem tax and sales tax on that store. And what we're doing right now is we're starting to concede that, and what we got one we're conceding it to, and the next people down the road are paying full taxes. I expect you are, and your stuff are paying full taxes. And then when the next one doesn't, and we're picking and choosing down the road who we grant these exemptions to. And I guess it's kind of a slippery slope, because we need the revenue from development so we can provide the services to that development. If the place catches on fire, there's something in the parking lot, something like that, police and fire will respond to it, but yet we're conceding a lot of the tax that pays for those type of services. And so that's kind of what I'm
But
concerned
you're
with.
looking at $18,000 on the ad valorem tax for the city versus $51,800 a year on sales tax over a 10-year period. And that's not counting Ace Hardware. And I would say, I guess it's one of those case-by-case situations, but like you've got that furniture store, that's a lot different than a Dollar General as far as the revenue that's brought in. $4 million a year in sales is a whole lot.
Let me ask you this, because you do this kind of stuff a lot. Don't you think those stores overrun the numbers that they can break and pay the rent, pay that base rent plus the net on it? Or they wouldn't be in negotiations for that. But what we do now is a lot of them, the developers already builds a TIF into that thing at the point where, and the store coming knows he's building a TIF into it, and they say, we won't pay more than $10 or 15 or 20 or 12, whatever like that. And so the whole thing is predicated on and built on a TIF to begin with. And I don't know what we ought to be doing that.
This is not a TIF.
But it's a tax abatement.
Respectfully, for everyone at the table, we're gonna have the same conversation Tuesday, so could we reserve it till Tuesday and not?
We could, but the ease of having the conversation here versus talking down the side of the table, that's the problem. It's a courtroom. And every time I talk to when on the morning I talk, we're gonna be looking down the table at each other. And this is a conducive to that. And that's the reason, when I bring stuff up at Friday meetings, is because it's a place where we can, everything's not predicated on Robert's rules. We can talk, we can discuss, things like
Well,
that.
hopefully we won't be covering exactly the same ground all over again. We'll have thought other things through and make other points.
But
So-
part of it is getting it on the table today, so we won't have to cover some of the stuff Tuesday night.
We talked about not doing all, because I did, because there's certain things you gotta do in life, live, die, and pay taxes, I understand that. But, like I said, their lease agreement is hinging on this. I do know that for a fact.
I was certain of that.
And the reason I say that is I know several people that are doing work on the inside of that building and they won't.
Well, and I've talked to the potential furniture. so,
And they
yeah.
said the same thing.
Yep, absolutely.
But when we start this tax process, it's gonna be like extracting teeth in June and July and August to try to get a budget passed and concessions made and stuff. And part of that is because we're at Mr. Castleberry's new shopping center. How much outflow gonna be on the TIF bonds?
It's capped at $4 million. in
But what would be debt service on the bonds?
We're guessing around 400,000.
Yes.
So,
You had your,
I did, and I wanted to say that I think what is important about what we're talking about today, and as we look to the future, is that resolution pinned down why and how much we are giving in terms of a tax abatement, so that when that next vendor comes, that next property development comes, we can say, that's different from, and we're going to do more or less because. So we just need to have a good finding of why we're doing what we're doing.
And we will be taking it up again after, this meeting we'll be taking up again at the work session effective for the March meeting, so. Okay, all right. Claim stock we'll skip. We've got financial statements. Joanna, anything about those that you're aware of? Okay, I didn't see Webb or oh, there you are. You're hiding over the back. Everything about it? Okay, all right. Consent for that one, guys? All right. Under the fire department, we've got remaining equipment for requirements of the assistance to the firefighters grant. Anything about that, Chief, you wish to share?
This is a grant we have to try to get. So part of that grant was also to get additional helmets. You got to have a full set of trying gear. So this is what that is. This is complete that grant. We can get reimbursed from the grant.
Okay, all right. Consent for that one, folks? Okay. Permission to allow JMCM Consulting to write and develop FEMA grants. This is the folks that we have used, how many years now?
5 years.
5 years now? Okay, so consent for that one, all right. And then we have human resources. We've got an authorization to make fire inspector, deputy chief in the fire department a permanent position, and this has been a point of discussion. Alderman Sistrunk, go right ahead.
And I've talked to Chief
Yarborough.
Yarborough about this. I'm sorry.
And Nab,
Had a little.
right?
I've not had a chance to talk to
Okay,
Nab
I've
yet
talked to
because he's
Nab
been
about
out of
it.
the office. And what I would propose that we do, and Chief was found this acceptable, was that we extend this temporary status through the end of this fiscal year and take that time during the budget process to look operationally if this is what makes the most sense or if something else makes more sense, and then ensure that we have ongoing funding for what we do on a permanent basis. Chief Yarborough identified money this year, but it was coming out of capital funds, which means he's permanently reducing capital funds that are available to him if he reclassifies that to a personnel position. So
Right.
I would suggest we just make this temporary and follow up with it through the budget process.
Okay, so we can actually make that adjustment here as a part of that. And Chief, you're comfortable?
Discuss
There
it.
you are. I'm coming back. You're comfortable with that, though?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
We
all right.
spoke in it, so
Okay,
that'll
all
work.
right. Yes, Mr.
I
Bates.
just want to ask, I assume you and Ms. Sistrunk talked about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Joanna, we can work some language up for that one, and then want to put that on consent with proper language?
Just
Okay.
essentially to extend it through the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah, instead of a permanent position, continue the temporary position. Okay. All righty. Under parks, we've got lowest quote for our fireworks show, and they're still trying to work out where we can get that done based on the footprint of the fireworks, et cetera. I've also asked him to look at doing drones. MSU did a drone show, which was pretty
I was
amazing.
hoping we were going to.
So I think Brandon's going to check into that. You haven't had a chance to do that, have you?
Not yet.
Okay, all right, so anyway, but at least this year, fireworks show, so consent for that one? Declare speed compressor and pool behind rack as surplus and sell on gov deals, consent for that one. Amendment 2 to the McKee Park Phase 1 Services Agreement with Kimley Horn. This is the design of the restrooms and renovation of the existing concession. Anything about that one, Cody or
So
Brandon?
ideally, this
Either
is
one.
that concession stand, McKee, that kind of in between the pickleball courts and the new construction. We wanted to utilize it as bathroom and some storage for the pickleball courts, actually. So that wasn't in the original, so this just kind of brings that into the fold to make sure that we can use it.
Okay, all right, consent for that one? All righty, and then Josh Horton is going to attend the Reed Technique of Investigative Interview and Advanced Interrogation course, and I want to go with him. All right, so consent for that one. It's school for our police officers, so it's a wonderful thing. And then we have one last, Edward says it's a one last emergency authorization from the presidential determination for a transformer. So consent for that one. We have added an executive session. This, Mr. Huskisson is going to be briefing on pending and potential litigation matters that will help bring Ms. Moreland up to speed, as well as give us an up-to-date look at some of the litigation that we're looking at. So that's it. All right. Any questions, any other discussion? All right. Thank you, everyone. We will adjourn and look forward to visiting with everyone on Tuesday. Monday's a holiday. Citywide pickup on Tuesday. Thank you.